They say that we have to hurt to a certain degree. That we say that there's a level of pain that the alcoholic must reach before they're willing to exert any kind of an effort towards ending the pain. Well, I have known all sorts of pain in my life, and many of you have. But I'm glad all of that happened now, because I'm convinced that all of that had to happen in order for me to come to finally realize, you know, am I what I would want my son to be?
Well, there's three primary ways that we all learn. There's instruction, example, or experience. And a parent's role is really to provide good instruction and to set a great example. And sometimes that gets ignored, and the child has to learn through experience. Experience is probably the most thorough form of teaching, but it oftentimes leaves wounds and scars. Well, when you think about a book, books are made up of chapters. And I would say our family's experience in Kirkland was probably the saddest chapter in the book. You know, alcoholics are interesting people. The thing that you come to learn eventually is that they love their substance more than they love anything. Dad would take the three boys into the bar with him, and it wouldn't take long before Dad would have Gene singing come down from your ivory tower" on the bar.
Come down from your eyes.
Of course, all the people around the bar, you know, they're clapping and buying Cokes for us, buying drinks for my dad. And, you know, when I think about it, it was a pretty clever strategy, I think, that my dad was using there. There's no doubt that Dad loved us at times, you could see that, but more than anything, he loved his liquor. And if it came down to a choice between the booze or his boys, the booze usually won out. You know, the substance, it has such a strong control over a person's life. One moment you're having fun at a ballpark, and you know, the next thing you know, at night you're laying in bed and you're hearing him hit Mom. It just tears at your insides.
It's World Series time, but what a change of scenery for baseball's greatest drama. Chicago's Comiskey Park.
Whenever a home run would be hit, that scoreboard would explode. And so Dad was going to take us into Comiskey Park to see that.
He's go-go socks and tries to keep Nellie close to the bag.
So we piled into his car and headed towards Chicago, which it was normally about an hour drive into Comiskey Park. The first stop that Dad made was at the County Line Tap, just outside of Cortland. Pretty soon we're back in the car and headed toward Comiskey Park. Elgin, Illinois is on the way, and Dad had some favorite watering holes in Elgin, and so we end up in the parking lot of another tavern, and Dad goes in to get a drink, and now us boys are listening to the ball game on the radio.
White Sox forward, Landis on first. Zuski belts another one deep to right field and goes all the way upstairs for his
We were listening to the ball game. It's in about the middle of the seventh inning when Jim Landis hits a home run, a grand slam home run for the White Sox. The scoreboard is going off, the announcer's describing it, we're all going crazy in the car, wishing, you know, almost like we could see it, but wishing we were there to see it. So Dad came out of the tavern, and somewhere between Elgin and Comiskey Park, we made another stop. I'm not sure where that was, but it was another tavern, and Dad went in to get some drinks, and it was into the second game, third or fourth inning by the time we reached the ballpark. And wouldn't you know, there wasn't another home run hit the rest of the day. When you have a little more maturity and can look back on it, you know, you shake your head in disbelief sometimes that, you know, how could he have done that? Or why would we have been in that situation? Wasn't he thinking clearly? Or Why would he do that? I guess that's how we would handle it. Coming home from school, our school was probably a block from our home. Came up the front porch and opened the door, and their dad was laying on the couch, and he was throwing up these great big globs of blood. I called Ray Littlejohn, who was on the volunteer fire department. He was one of the ball coaches at the time, and so we knew their family pretty well. And Ray and a couple other guys came up in an ambulance and put my dad in the back of that ambulance, still throwing up the blood, and away they went. I didn't see him again until I was 17 years old. Like most alcoholic families, a lot of bad things start to happen when the problem surfaces, and my folks were divorced, and back then Kirkland had about 700 people in it, and as far as I know, we were the only kids that had divorced parents, and there was a lot of shame and stigma. There were families that would no longer let their kids play with us because, you know, we were from that divorced family. After they took my dad away and Mom was losing the tavern and we moved down to the cottage here, it became obvious that, you know, our family was in pretty serious trouble. Our space here was really limited. We had 2 rooms in the house. With my mom and us 3 boys living there, it was like the first 3 people home got the bed, and the last one slept out on the couch. Pretty cramped quarters, not really room to put anything. I really don't even know what happened to the stuff that we had in our house up on the hill. My dad had an encounter with a man that was in Alcoholics Anonymous, but that person brought my dad to an AA meeting, and my dad began to embrace a lifetime of sobriety through what he was learning in that organization. Sometime early in his sobriety, he read in a little AA devotional book, A Thought for the Day, that a little line about helping other alcoholics was kind of the key to his own sobriety. It wasn't long after that Dad found his way to California, start Duffy's Myrtledale, which became a very impactful and powerful tool for him to help other alcoholics. For 25 years, he operated Duffy's and helped tens of thousands of people.
I wish I'd known my grandfather better. I didn't grow up near him. Really, all I do know of him is what life was like for my dad. I don't take for granted the fact that the chain was broken. In fact, I see a certain level of responsibility just to sort of be a beacon of hope, to be a mouthpiece that helps others realize that it can stop, and it can stop with you. What's driving us in our current endeavor, in our recovery efforts, really is the idea that the best chapters of life are still waiting to be written for somebody who's addicted.
Nobody can go back and change their beginning, but anybody can begin to change their ending. And that's really what we're trying to do, is help people start a new ending and create a new legacy.